I'm endlessly inspired by asymmetry, by the precision in hair design, especially in Lagos, where I've lived the last 12 years. I strongly feel that my interest in hair has expanded because of the versatile hairstyles that I see here every day. So I think I'm always thinking about how these hairstyles can be used to interpret plants and how plants can be used to interpret these hairstyles. I'm also very interested in domestic spaces and kitchens especially, specifically looking at the kinds of crockery that is used to transform plant matter into the food that we eat. I've been really taken by the variety of cooking objects that one can find here in Lagos, across Nigeria, but also when I go to international cities. I've been very interested to see how the international nature of a place can be reflected in the types of crockery, the pots and pans that you can find in that city. So in my playgrounds, I try to incorporate a little bit of all of this where I can. I really realized that my interest in plants and botanicals is something that came from my formative years. My grandparents in Jamaica always grew quite a few plants in their backyard that we would eat from, and learning about these plants as a child, the interaction between plants and how plants cohabit spaces that humans cohabit. And I think I really became connected to that interest after I became a mom myself. It was something that I wanted to share with my children, this knowledge of plants that my parents and grandparents had bequeathed to me as a child. And then also I should say love of the ocean. The places where I grew up and where I visited as a child were very close to large bodies of water. And I've realized that water has always been a grounding element for me, and it's something I continually think about in my practice. I'm very interested in what I call narratives of substitution. So how I substitute certain foods and nutrients that I'm able to get while living in Lagos when I travel elsewhere. Being anemic, I have to really focus on green vegetables, for example. So I think I always carry who I am with me, but I try to allow whichever space I'm working in to also enter me. I try to allow myself to respond to that space, whatever it may be, and thinking about whatever work I could create there. It's been really exciting to develop work for the Culturescapes Festival. I'm actually planning to contribute a two-part project. One, an outdoor physical play structure that will be installed as early as May. And then secondly, an exhibition where I'm going to work to deconstruct the elements that I use in my playgrounds, reappropriating them. And also I'm going to present some works on paper and maybe some paintings to give a bit more context to how I come up with these lines, how I challenge myself to understand and interpret lines by using works on paper and paintings. But I'm quite excited about it. It's my first time exhibiting my work in Switzerland. And so more than anything, I'm curious about the response that this Swiss audience will have to my work. In terms of the play structures that I create, I use plant-based materials, I use metals that I hope can either return to the earth or be constituted into something else. I'm very interested in using materials that are free from artificial coloring. So I use the red oxide, which is naturally red because of the iron when I need to coat different types of steel, but ideally I like to use stainless steel. The idea behind that is we don't need all these synthetic colors and things to stimulate play or to encourage play. We have enough natural colors in the environment around us, and I like to kind of highlight that by muting the play structures that I introduce into the world. I really want to show how I believe climate change can be addressed by the individual decisions we choose to make. I'm really keen to have playgrounds on the 7 different continents. My hope is that my play structures can continue to encourage that sort of communication and dialogue between people who are not necessarily from the same place, and that even my works on paper and paintings can be starting points for conversation that would have us leave wherever we're visiting different from how we came. So I really hope that I can build a practice that is encouraging, is inspiring, and is prescient for the many diverse audiences that exist in the world.